All right, we are live on the SEO Leadership webinar, and this week we have a very amazing guest with us, Peter Rota. And Peter's currently the Senior Tech SEO Manager at Hub International, and he's garnered over 10 years of experience in the industry, which is extremely impressive. He's gathered some impressive results, he's grown his career, and he's built a very, very strong LinkedIn following and presence. Peter, thank you so much for coming on with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, happy to be here and go over my journey and kind of just go over how I've gotten into SEO. So super excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And on that note, can you tell us a little bit about your career progression, how you got into SEO, and sort of how you built yourself up to be where you are in your current role? Your experience is amazing, so it would be great to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the compliments. So as far as my career journey, I kind of got into SEO randomly, like I feel like most people. So
Yeah.
I actually went to school for sports management, and 2011, I had a website and it was on Blogger, which no one uses those anymore. But essentially, I was kind of looking for ways to promote it. And the site was mostly about sports and just kind of controversial things and more. I found stuff more interesting like that. But essentially, I've been doing it for a few months or so. And I thought to myself, like, I want to promote this a bit more. And as one does, you start kind of Googling things. And I kept hearing that mentioned like SEO or search engine optimization. I was like, ooh, like maybe I should try that, and was able to get some traction out of that by like I posted some stuff on Reddit, got some traction there, and then started to improve like some of the title tags and internal linking. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that part. And then I thought, let me see if I can get an internship, and that went well. And then I had another one, and then did my first agency job, and it kind of went from there. So happy I kind of made that discovery. And now, like you mentioned, I do technical SEO for Hub International, and I kind of like to educate people on LinkedIn about my experiences, because I feel like as an SEO, there was all these other people that have given me their information and shared their experiences. So I feel almost indebted to the community, and also happy to just share, because there's a lot of, there is a lot of good news or information being shared. There are some things that are not always true. So I kind of like to just, I mean, I've been being called like no BS SEO now, but I kind of just share like what works and what not to waste your time on. So I guess that's kind of a long-winded way of answering the question, but I hope that was a good enough detail.
Definitely. And Peter, on that last point, do you think that sort of doing that no BS SEO and posting those sort of results and techniques and strategies, has that been the key to sort of growing out the LinkedIn? Is that what you've sort of found? Like people sort of appreciate that way?
I think it's a mix of things. I mean, on LinkedIn, people appreciate authenticity, which, I mean, I'm really pretty authentic, obviously. I think it was last year I got interviewed in Business Insider for one of my posts, which I probably won't talk about it now, but it's a little bit personal, but it got good exposure. But I think people gravitate towards people that are generally doing SEO and can provide proof of results. There's a lot of people that can talk SEO, but when you actually ask them how to rank a website, most of them will be like, I don't know. So I think people gravitate towards authenticity and people that actually know what they're doing, as well as good sense of humor and just engage with their audience. And I try to just engage as much as possible. Like I had a post yesterday, and a lot of them were like kind of junky comments, but there was like 90 comments. So I tried to respond to most of them.
And do you feel like, because people that we've talked to, maybe like more junior SEOs who are trying to grow out, I think there's a lot of like gatekeeping and stuff as well in the SEO, like about results, or people maybe scared to post results and stuff in case they do get backlash, or in case, people work out who the client is and start to approach the client and stuff like that. Do you feel like you have to go all in and just sort of explain, like I know your post yesterday did really well. It was like over like 300 reactions and stuff, but you were so detailed in like the industry, the niche and stuff like that as well. Do you think being like fully out there helps your case? Because obviously if you've got the results to back it up, the client should be happy enough in staying with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely can be hard, but I think what SEO traffic and rankings are great, but there needs to be an end goal in mind. So it's like, yes, I increased traffic and rankings, but how did you improve the website owner's sales or conversion? So I think there is sometimes people are afraid to share results, but I mean, the reality is you can share something perfect and people are going to always find a way to like maybe misinterpret it, or like if someone wants to be negative, they're going to find a way. So it's like you can't please everyone. I think that's part of life in general. Social media is like some people will love you, some people will revere you, but I'd rather be authentic and just truly share what I know than be some watered down version of myself.
Definitely.
On the topic of just relating it back to your career progression, you had quite a array of experience, especially in different roles in different companies. What advice would you give to juniors that are trying to sort of refine their role or have them gain a better understanding of what sort of personality type and skill sets they need to get to their dream goal in the future? Do you have any sort of tips where you maybe hit roadblocks and you wanted to do a career shift, or not a career shift, but a role shift? And do you have anything that you would advise to them?
I mean, I've always been happy in SEO, so I don't really have a career shift in mind. But I think what kind of helped me gain a ton of experience is I did start working SEO jobs, but I also would do side projects or things on the side, because in your day to day, sometimes the work becomes monotonous and you're not always doing new things. So a lot of experiences I've learned outside of SEO, I bring to, I mean, outside of my regular job, I bring to freelance. And another thing too is like when you write and educate, you almost like refresh and learn from yourself. But I mean, I would say one of the big things is just SEO is more than just ranking websites. So you need to be able to story tell, and you need to be able to analyze the data and communicate and speak to the language of your audience. So if I'm presenting to like C-suite, I want to speak in like traffic and like conversions and what's the impact of this. So I think that's really helped me learn a ton, and just um, being super receptive and open to learning as much as possible, especially when you're starting out and kind of trying to do a bit of everything and kind of see what sticks out to you the most and what you enjoy. I think right now too, a big thing is using AI and automation. So I use ChatGPT in some of my work for like outlines and ZimWriter, but I'm also starting to want to learn a bit more coding. So I started like some very basic Python course to kind of automate things there. So it's just SEO at this point like is more than SEO. So you need to have complementary skills that can kind of help you there as well. So I think also to have a better understanding of marketing, because SEO is a subset of marketing. So kind of educating yourself about copywriting and the buyer's journey and why people convert, and why maybe um, this website maybe doesn't have like amazing SEO, or not amazing SEO. It doesn't have amazing like design, but maybe they're able to convert and just different things like that. So just generally being curious each day. And another thing I do is like I start each day kind of reading some of the different like um, news sources. So I'll read a lot like Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Roundtable, Ahrefs, SEMrush, Reddit, and kind of just educate myself as much as possible. I mean, my boss has said she really appreciated how I'm like trying to be proactive and just educate the rest of the team. So I would say all those things.
And in
Right.
terms of when you moved into sort of a managerial role or slash team lead role, were there any particular people skills slash soft skills, not only just to communicating to C-suite, but also just communicating to your team, that you had to sort of like learn or adapt and work on? I'm also asking this question for if anyone is moving into a managerial position, is there anything that they need to look out for or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't manage people particularly, but I mean, I do
Okay.
manage like the SEO, but I think it's just
Okay.
being able to communicate things as easy as possible and be transparent, but also don't be a jerk. I mean, you don't know what's going on in people's lives, so it's like you try to just have some empathy and understand where they're coming from. But um, I'm trying to I think also understanding everyone communicates differently. So some people they like to get maybe emails where it's like other people like to, I guess, get a chat and then also being constructive with time. So it's like if something can take like a quick phone call that's gonna maybe take a few minutes, you don't have to set up a whole meeting. So I think just
Mm,
being um, constructive and trying to be aware of everyone's time and just um, understand where they're coming from. And I think also conflict resolution is something too, which I think that's harder to be said than
mm,
done. But I think something definitely working within SEO and at least higher enterprise jobs is you're going to work a lot with developers and there's going to be resources issues. So kind of understanding where they're coming from and having to meet in the middle and kind of finding solutions that work for both sides and educating
mm.
them why we're doing this, what is done, and what they could expect out of it. So they're not like, we spent all this time and then we didn't get any like results out of it. So I would say a combination of all those things.
It's
Mm.
important. Yeah,
Yeah,
Rob.
and as Shreya mentioned earlier, your experience does span across a lot of different areas of SEO. I mean, you've been an analyst, a strategist, a specialist, and now you're technical. And I know that job titles are job titles, but is there any, are there any, specific niches of SEO that you found like, I really like this, or do you just love all SEO?
Good question. I mean, I used to like affiliate a lot, but now it's dominated by major brands. But I really do enjoy a lot of local SEO. I generally enjoy it more because I've worked with so many local clients that have been burned by these just terrible SEO agencies, and I generally
Mhm.
feel like they appreciate what you do more. And I just generally like to like make people feel better, and I feel like there's SEO gets a bad rap where it's like they've been burned. So I like to I wouldn't say I'm like the voice of truth, but I just like to be generally help people. Um, I would say technical SEO too. Um, I enjoy it a lot, but I mean, there's still a ton like I want to learn. So, like I mentioned, learning Python and
Mm.
um, AI is like really exciting too. So it's like kind of using that to automate my workflows. And I think another thing which I mentioned a bit earlier is just the fact that there's so much to learn. It's like I've been doing this since 2011. And I'm still learning from other people. So it's like I don't even consider myself an expert, but like I would say I try to sell that to clients because who are they going to hire? Like someone that's like, here's a report, or someone that's like, here's all these results and I'm an expert. So, I mean, I'd say those things. I really enjoy e-commerce too, as well.
Mm.
So I've definitely got some pretty good wins there. And generally, I just enjoy people that are understand SEO is obviously it's not a marathon and a sprint, but generally people that don't ask. I think a few questions is fine, but they trust you to do your work. It's like you're an expert. I trust you for your work, so they generally trust you, and they're not like helicopter all the time, being like, "Where is my results and why are we not ranking yet?" So I think that also comes down to seeing red flags before you get a client, but that's a different call for a different call.
It's like day 2. Why aren't we number 1?
Yes. Yeah. I had someone like reach out to me who wasn't a client, it was like a message on LinkedIn, but basically he was wondering why he wasn't ranking for easy bail bonds yet, and it's like been like a few weeks, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna take a bit longer.
Yeah.
And on that, Peter, how do you, obviously communication's a big factor. How has your sort of communication changed from obviously when you started off being a bit more junior to now? Especially in-house role, I feel like it's quite important to get a lot of buy-in from sort of C-suite and people above you. Have you changed the way you talk from like talking about clicks, impressions to like more talking about like the benefit that SEO can have in terms of like revenue bottom line or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a mix. So I do monthly reports every month that we're kind of talking about what SEO we're working on, but we'll be like, here's what we're doing, and then this is how it affects organic traffic. So it's like basically tying everything back to like an end goal and being like, there's a systematic reason we're doing everything. But I think a lot of it too is just making sure you're accurately documenting everything, because I think sometimes as SEOs we'll be like, we did this, but we didn't track the results. So it's like you really want to be like, for especially for C-suite, being like, we did this, here's the result, and then it's like, how are we going to plan to do that? So a lot of it's very big on like communicating a strategy, what needs to be done, what's the time frame, what's the expected results, and like you mentioned, yeah, just going back to taking outside of just an SEO mind where it's like, I mean, I wrote a post today about crawl budget, and it's like, if you said that to like you're an owner or an enterprise like CEO, they'd be like, okay, like what does that mean? So it's like explaining that like if we improve internal linking or we're reducing like duplicate content or just unnecessary content, Google can better crawl our website, and then because of that they're prioritizing more important content, and that could possibly help improve clicks. I think another thing too, and it's actually just did it there, is like being definitive in your statements. So I mean, I think as SEO it's very hard because you're like, well, I don't know, but you try to be as definitive as
Depends.
possible. Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't say it's a white lie but I mean, they're gonna hose you to stuff, but they're not gonna be like, Peter Rota said exactly, if we do this, we're gonna have this exact thing. I feel like there's people do give you some leeway, but I've definitely like got feedback where it's like, if we improve the title tags here, we may get a benefit or improvement. So you definitely want to be like definitive in how you're wording things.
Definitely. And I know obviously you've worked quite a lot of different niches. I know you actually did your own freelance as well for a year,
Yes.
which we'll probably come back to. But I think recently you've done quite a lot of sort of highly competitive, quite heavy niches, if that's the right word. Especially in terms of like red tape, like you've done like illegal finance, I think insurance at the minute. Are those industries with like heavily red tape something that you enjoy? Like, is it a bit more of a challenge to like get those results in those competitive markets, or is it just something that you've fallen into and you're like you've kind of realized I'm good at this niche? Or
I think the hardest thing is not well, I guess it's part of the SEO, but one of the big factors is just the resources and going through all the approvals. So it's like, maybe I want to do something, but then it's like we need to go through this massive approval thing, and you're just ultimately slower. And I think it's like you want to do so much, but sometimes, like, here's an example: is like, have you all ever heard of Sitecore? It's basically a CMS used by like more enterprise sites. So it's like we've been having issues recently where I can't even make updates to things. So it's like I want to do all these things, but it's like sometimes just focusing on what you can actually control. So, yeah, but going back to your statement, I think with those, it's just getting the resources. And I mean, we're like building a smaller brand into a bigger brand. So it's like we're out here competing with like the giant or the zebra. So it's like creating that content and building that topical authority and just
Mhm.
trying to get those links from these bigger sites, which is very hard. So it's like a lot more outreach and on page and just really tightening up the technical SEO and just really doing everything you can within your ability. And another thing we're trying to do is focus a bit more on Reddit, because when
Mm.
these massive organizations, they maybe not able to be as agile. So there's like an area for like where we can like maybe create content or get some alternative benefits. We're also looking into improving how we're showing up in some of the AI search engines, and we've been kind of watching search chat GPT, and I'm hopefully to get on the beta soon. So it's like focusing on some of those things that like I feel like are parts of SEO, but people are not always thinking of immediately as impact channels.
Very love that.
Before I get into the next question, I just wanted to ask, are you finding more of your information, because you've mentioned Reddit quite a few times, more from Reddit, or like do you find it like spread throughout like X/Twitter, LinkedIn, and Reddit, or where's your sort of like primary? Is there a lot of value like in Reddit that's worth junior SEOs exploring more?
Yeah, I mean, I find value from everywhere, but I mean, I think it's good to get a varied source, because
Mm.
um, some people on these SEO blogs, it's like they talk about these strategies, but it's like you can't use some of them for like smaller websites, or like they're only working on like these massive websites. So it's like
Okay.
here I am talking about EEAT when it's like I'm a DR90, and it's like just, you have all these backlinks and
Yeah.
you can just do some basic stuff. But I think it's generally important to get perspective from different people that are working in different industries and different verticals. But overall, I
Yeah.
find Reddit definitely useful. But there's also people that share not great information. I felt like I've gotten more benefit from like Reddit tech SEO and big SEO than I think the Reddit SEO, just subreddit this time point, is kind of
Mm.
like a lot of spam. But I
Mhm.
find value in following people on LinkedIn, Twitter. Back many years ago when it was still a thing, Google Plus, I think that was a thing. Yeah, I was dating
Awesome.
myself, but
Yeah.
also a lot of like SEO verticals. I read Search Engine Roundtable every day. Shout out to Very Shorts. But yeah, I think it's important to just have a varied sources of information and
Mm.
also test everything too. So, I mean, a perfect example is Google provides really good information when it comes to technical stuff. But as far as like answering ranking advice and why something ranks and how to do stuff, it's like best to take it with a grain of salt, because I think at the end of the day, they're a for-profit company, and it's like, while natural search results are their bread and butter, what makes them money is like the paid stuff. So kind of just being
Awesome.
wary of what they're trying to do and how they promote things.
Awesome. And then just quickly, Anna, Robin, you have a question lined up. Just going back to I promise, last question probably on the
No, you're
C-suite
good.
communication to
Don't worry.
C-suite. I just wanted to ask for the sake of like juniors as well, because we had a webinar guest come on a few weeks ago that was talking about how she incorporated like training sessions with her juniors on how to communicate to C-suites, i.e. like do a project every few months and like do a practice report or something like that. Is there anything that you could potentially add to that you think maybe, I guess, like managers or team leads could include in training up juniors to speak to C-suites?
Good question.
I know that it's not necessarily a
Yeah.
priority for them right now, but I think obviously starting the earlier on just gives them like that power to grow in their role and also just understand their role better. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, being able to meet weekly with your boss and generally ask them how you're doing. I think
Mm.
it's super important when you're starting out to kind of get that feedback. Another thing is kind of also every few months kind of ask them like, am I improving in these areas? Do you think I'm weak in certain areas? And just being as open to feedback as possible and not get like too hurt ego wise. I think
Mm.
most people are generally want feedback, but sometimes they get hurt by it. So it's like you have to be as open as possible, especially if you're just starting out in your career. Like people might say some things, and I generally try to be nice. But I mean, if someone's not doing something, you want to kind of be provide feedback that's also actionable. Like don't just say like do more of this. Like provide examples of how they could do that, or provide resources that they can use to improve those skills. Because I think it's almost like LinkedIn too, where it's like improve these things, but we're not going to tell you how to do it. So you just want to be really actionable with any feedback or any information you have.
Awesome. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Robin?
I just wanted to shift gears a little bit to LinkedIn, because that's
Yeah.
obviously how we all know each other.
Yeah.
And I want to touch a little bit on the importance of personal branding, and sort of when you started building up your LinkedIn following and your profile to get where you are today. Were there any things that you sort of focused on, or did it also just happen?
Yeah, I mean it's a really good question. So, I mean, I don't know how long it's been. I think it's been 3 years or so. I've been consistent, but for me, it was just kind of establishing a routine. So it's like originally I was doing one post a week, and then I ended up on five. And I mean, I made a presentation about it, and I kind of like burned myself out. But it's like kind of just being consistent and kind of I like to share a thing that's like gonna have a few different points. So it's like either this is funny to me, or it's like it provides some value, or it's like positioning you as an authority. Um, but yeah, I mean, I never would have. My goal was to never like get this big. It was just to like provide value. But I mean, I've done like sponsored deals. I've done like podcasts. I've gotten clients. So I'm really appreciative because I don't consider myself an expert, and I just try to be as humble as possible. And it's like I'm kind of the person where it's like once you feel like you know everything about everything, then you kind of just become closed minded. So it's like I try to be as open minded as possible, provide value, um, comment on other people's posts, and not just provide generic. So, I mean, a lot of my comments, unfortunately, are like ChatGPT. It's just like really bad, but generally provide some value and how like that content resonate with you, and just um, always be learning and experiencing with different content types. So like I do a lot of text posts because I'm kind of lazy, but these people out here are doing these amazing graphics. So one day maybe I'll get to that, but I think I've done like maybe one or two carousels and two selfies all my time, and people are like pushing the heck out of them. So, I mean, I think that, and just I try to learn as much from other people and um, try to educate myself. But yeah, I mean, I guess does that answer your question?
Definitely. I was going to say, I think the valuable content that you post really resonates with people. I mean, every time I see you post something, I'm like, what is Peter going to teach me today? So yeah, I really agree with what you said, and you answered my question brilliantly.
Actually, did have one more thing to add.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
going back to personal branding, I think at least in the time and age we are in now, personal branding is really going to set yourself apart in the SEO space. I know the job market is tight right now, so it's like anything that you can use to establish your expertise and authority is going to be huge for like hiring managers. So it's like if I'm posting about what I'm learning, challenges I'm working on, how I'm solving things, that's going to resonate a ton with hiring managers because you're basically pre-selling yourself beyond your resume. And it's like, I mean, I'm kind of lazy, so I never do cover letters, but like it's a nice way to just sell yourself beyond your resume. and be like, wow, this person like really knows his stuff. So like, I'm not looking for like a new job right now. And if I was looking for a job where I just got laid off, I would go so hard and like building out my LinkedIn presence and headline and what I'm doing and just provide as much value as possible. So yeah.
Awesome. One quick last question,
Yeah.
and it's, I guess, sort of like a hot seat question. You can, you can compliment your current company if they did this in the answer. But as a, I guess, if you had to put yourself in a position of someone that is looking for a job right now, considering the state of the job market and the way it is right now, what is one massive, I guess, green flag that would help you be attracted to an ideal company or agency or your next role? Is there something that would stand out from that company that I guess would help you? I know obviously personal incentives are different to each person, but is there something that I guess like company side they can help sort of portray themselves in a more healthier manner against all the competition at the moment?
Well, I'd say one, at least that's going to be permanently remote. So this kind of stood out to me about Hub as they're permanent remote, and they've told me that. So I'm happy with that. But I've also, another green one would definitely be companies that allow you to freelance on the side. I'm
Yeah.
very happy because I've met with some companies before my current one, and they were like, if we hire you, you can't do any freelance. You're like all in. I'm like, no, I'm good. So it's like I appreciate companies that want you to succeed in both your um, professional and personal like projects. So I think another thing, the great thing is they're also interested in, they wanted me to grow, and there was a career path that didn't involve me directly managing people. So that's another thing that really stood out to me as well. Because I know, I mean, I don't know if it's just SEOs, but I think we tend to not always want to like be work with people. We just want to like do the work. So I was happy
Yeah.
that there was an opportunity, because sometimes it's like you get to a certain point where it's like, okay, like I just need to make a change, because if I'm not like managing people, I can't move up here. So I was
Mm,
happy they
yeah.
had that ability.
No, that's awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, well, that rounds us up. Peter, thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar. Thank you for coming on so early as well
Yeah, no
for your
problem.
time. And that was super insightful. We will be releasing this up on YouTube and Spotify, newsletter out and everything. So everyone that is listening, you can catch and find Peter in our links, promote at, above or below, wherever we're putting it out. And yeah, Peter, have a great Friday and a great week, and we will chat soon.
You too. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Peter. Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.